Well, here we are on Halloween.
I just got accused of dressing like Brokeback Mountain, so thank you very much.
Well, you got to remember now, Greg, I think the way you just like, how's your mind after being turned into a frog, as I reported last week?
Yeah, well.
You okay now?
I don't know, I've been itchy.
I just got back from Montana. There was a lot of cowboy hats out there.
You've been croaking to get back on. This is going a weird direction with cowboys in Montana. This movie. Well, we're very happy to welcome Dan Zaya back.
Hey, thank you very much.
He can take his wig off now. Another
I'm going to take my wig off.
Conscientious guest that dressed up.
Now you almost look like, Coach East or something.
I am
you and I
fresh. I'm fresh from a private party gig last night, Halloween party. So
just ended an hour ago.
Yeah, no, actually. So obviously you can tell that I'm trying to dress up like Axl Rose, but I put the red wig in a ponytail here, and I just look like Willie Nelson wearing a Guns N' Roses shirt.
No, you probably slept like that, so you wouldn't be late.
No, we saw you, so we saw you. We're like, there's some guy going to a Phil Dish memorial and they get it the wrong way. But our other guest, obviously, he's back from his trip around the globe trying to do a Michael Palin and be everywhere. It's the one and only John Adams. And first of all, I have to apologize. We needed somebody to kiss Greg to turn back from a frog. When I said to close your eyes, this is a very special Guinness. I lied, but it was for a greater good. So we have...
I was a part of that process, apparently.
Yes, we have the scariest day of the year coming up. Yes, Election Day. And I didn't want to talk about candidates, but I want to talk about one thing.
Well, we already have a ghost in office. No, man.
I want to talk about one thing. How did we go to become so insane as a nation and divided and crazy?
Because the World War II generation died off.
Well, it's still here. That generation is dying off. It's still here. Yeah. I think it was by design. And I don't know which side it was on. It doesn't really matter. The reality is that if you look back in the 80s and the 90s, if you looked at the national, the U.S. Senate and the Congress, there was a lot of crossover in the aisles. And today there's almost zero crossover in any one of those aisles.
That's true. You're very right.
In over 90s and the 2000s, that got tighter and tighter on party lines. And I think that the powers that be basically told the young senators that, the freshman senators and the freshman Congress people fall in line or we won't support you. And, of course, they fell in line. And now you've got
pick a lane
in the aisle that people just simply don't cross very often.
Well, I remember, with Plato and the Republic, and he did one thing he didn't like he was going on and basically, right or wrong, not going to get into that he basically favored sort of a military oligarchy like Sparta because he looked at governments. He didn't want a dictatorship. He was held captive in Syracuse, but he didn't want a democracy because they killed Socrates. So it's almost like we look at government, a lot of times I think we look at, okay, what's the least worst, not the best?
Right. I think to answer, the question that we were talking about, it's surprising how much of what we've come to rely on to moderate us have been norms that prior generations have adhered to, and that we have discarded very easily in recent times. And that is actually also fueled by the largesse of the monies, right? When John says, you don't get the support if you don't support my guy, that's money that is really, after especially a decision like Citizens United from the Supreme Court, just flows unrestricted, and you've got that very toxic,
See, I can just say from the days I was down there's always... Now, anybody who doesn't think debates are nasty, go back and read some of the stuff said about Lincoln and some of the... Are like, hey, Andrew Jackson was not a nice guy, but one of his famous comments was, anything you regret when you were president? So, that I didn't shoot John Calhoun and hang Henry Clay.
Well, actually, if you go back on his Twitter feed, you'll see that he said that's another part of the problem.
No, I was going to say, one of my biggies is, I think it's like a book I read years ago called Orwell's Ghosts. Technology is always advances ahead of us, of humanity. And social media, to me, is like, if the Bauman, who is in D.C. right now. His son's running a marathon. I said, okay. He's like, do you ever run a marathon? I'm like, yeah, I just listened to the Rush song a bunch of times. But he would say social media, and I think social media and all this idiot village of the internet's a big problem.
How close do you think we are to future shock? I mean, the way I look at it, I think it's kind of almost come true.
Jeez, I've been shocked for several years at this point.
Yeah, I mean, machines.
You were shocked in
technology.
1988.
I was.
I remember, yeah. We were in 1988, yeah.
Stuff being decided for
Do
you.
you remember our first gig on stage? This is a little side note, right? Our first gig on stage, I had a $40 bass guitar that I jumped off the stage while it was raining and decided to shock the hell out of myself with freaking bass. So I'm like, jumping back up on stage to get out of the electricity.
So my first band in high school was called Feedback because our amps were so bad, everything. But I have a story like that, so I got this really cheapy bass, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to upgrade. So the one I upgraded, I'm going to get stolen.
Yeah.
So I take this piece of crap bass, I take it into the store by Lada, the music store down there. There's this guy, looks like David Lee Roth, comes out. He comes out, takes it, goes, okay, man. Goes in the back room. Here, it's like out of tune and everything. So he come like, maybe like he'll go, dude, I'll take it for $5. He comes out, will you take $75?
Nice.
Yes.
Before the drugs wear off, I'm out of here.
Yes, I'll take it.
So I have a thing. I've mentioned this before. I know it's not ever going to be true, but if you could take the money out of running for office, do you think it would be different?
Of course it would be different. Well, that's what the libertarians have been using for decades at this point. Take the money out of politics.
Because then you could just, I mean, if there was just a general fund and give everybody equal amounts and then you do what you need to do, kind of like making a movie or something. Here's your budget. You figure out what to do with it. And, I don't know. It just
Sounds
would
like
never
we have
happen.
Larry Sharp on this podcast today.
Actually,
that's what Larry Sharp has been talking about for years. Is that each community is different, right? And so if you're going to use monies in some way in a community, should it be a blanket across the nation, or should it be specific to the needs of the community that it's
Well, then
in?
you get the special interest out of it, and that you can't have that, right?
Well, you can use some of the special interest to do that. One of his famous lines is talking about how maybe Verizon should be sponsoring the Tappan Zee Bridge, which is Cuomo selfishly changed the name of that bridge a few years ago to the Cuomo Bridge to honor his father, taking the name of a native tribe away.
That's a bridge too far, man.
But if it was the Verizon Bridge and Verizon was responsible for maintaining that structure, and there had some sort of outside inspection to make sure that they were doing what they said they were going to do, well, then that wouldn't cost the community anything. It would be a sponsored thing like a stadium, right?
Right.
You got tens of thousands of people going across that bridge every day. What company wouldn't want their name plastered all over there?
Right. Good point. That's a good idea.
And I couldn't imagine how expensive concert would be if they didn't have all these corporate sponsors either.
Right.
Well, and, Dan brought up the money. We're talking about the money. There's an organization. I don't know much about the organization, but I did read a little bit of an article, or they had a graph to it. And the graph was, it's called Represent Us. And I think it's a left-leaning organization. It doesn't matter, really. But the information seemed to be correct. And it was like, if you spend $1 to support a candidate to get into office, how much of that dollar actually comes back to the community as decisions supporting the community? Or if you cast your vote to support a person going to the U.S. Senate or to the Congress. And the actual reality is that almost nothing that the community wants happens in the U.S. Senate or in the Congress. It's the companies that come in and pay the lobbyists to talk to these people and then add hundreds of millions of dollars into the funds to support political candidates. Those are the entities that get support by the Senate and the Congress. It's not the community that they come from.
Right.
It was even sort of to the point of almost the Monty Python absurdity when I worked up there, because you would get like huge things from Post cereal because they were donating, and they would go, "Did you eat your cereal today?" and stuff like that. That they would always do things like that, or like somebody actually called, "Have you eaten your cereal?" But I always say, "Look at this one."
Sounds like drinking the Kool-Aid.
Take a look. Actually, everybody gets that wrong though, because what happened at that place was they drank Fruit-Aid. It wasn't Kool-Aid. What does that bother me? I don't know.
The Kool-Aid lobby.
Well, if I get a choice of Fruit-Aid or Kool-Aid, Greg, I'm choosing the Kool-Aid.
That's right.
But one of the things, do your own research. Take a look at some of these public servants. Look at what they're worth before they go into office. Then look at what they're worth after they're in office.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Unfortunately, you have something to say about that, Dan?
I was going to say, I have been involved. I mean, as you guys know, my daytime job is that of an attorney, and it's within the field of workers' compensation. And within that field, I belong to various different groups. One of them is a political group, and I've seen how the lobby happens, and I see how laws get changed, right? Mm-hmm. And it is entirely about access, and the money does buy you access, right? So these special interests, I mean, we say that like it's a dirty word, but everybody has a special interest. I mean, and you have a right under your First Amendment to express your position on an interest of yours. So if that happens to be the workers' compensation law, your money will fund, if you group people together and you take their money, it will fund research that gets you answers that then when you pay for a lobbying group, which one of our groups does, so that they can get into New York State, and I get the notices, Lobby Day, May 13th, we're all going to be there face-to-face, not with the politician, but with the chief of staff, and they prepare the 3-minute talking points. This is how you get your point across, and then you see results, and you're like, that's how it works. Mm-hmm. That's how the money happens. But you and I alone, not going to happen.
I think it's more like then a case of, like, is the thing you're sponsoring, supporting, going for, if it's really valuable to more people or a small group, or, kind of like how for the general good or not.
No, that's completely how you have to couch it.
But there was a thing, there was actually one representative said at one time, it's like, okay, logically, you have a bridge that's falling apart. What do? You fix the bridge.
You do.
But no, so in politics, no, you don't. It goes to a pork barrel to a bridge that's already new, but they got it. But that's the lobbying came from. I used to love the A. Adams. I used to go down to this hotel across the street from the Hill. That's where lobbying came in, because they would wait for the representatives in there in the lobby.
Yeah.
But it made me think of a story, because there's a thing where Bush had the thing where they caught the guy in the park. This is Bush 1 with the Coke. Mm-hmm. They played him. There's a story about David Lee Roth where he got busted for pot.
In Times Square.
Somebody goes, man, it's really sad when a rock star's falling on such hard times and he has to buy his own weed.
Wow. Well, my travels through Montana this last week, which, by the way, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. We crossed the border into Montana, and all of a sudden there was a casino every fifth building.
Right.
We're really mainly on main roads, so there's a lot of traffic there. And every township we were in fact, even if it wasn't, it was really a hamlet. We'd go through a hamlet, there'd be a gas station, and part of the gas station was a mini casino.
Yeah.
And we stayed at just a little mom and pop hotel in Butte, Montana, and they had like a little bar / food area. The food was Tombstone pizza that they would cook, and you'd pay $15 for a Tombstone pizza for them to cook while you sat at the bar. And there wasn't really many tables in this little place, but they had 8 slot machines in this little section, and they had it was called a casino. And so everywhere we went, there was a casino. However, my fiancée does this little side gig where she does hands writes requests for free credit at a casino. Mm-hmm. And she sends that out to different online casino gaming, and by law they have to issue like 5 credits or something like that. And she's done that. Well, you're not allowed to do that in Montana, right? And you wonder, how did it get to be that they're not allowed to do online gaming in Montana? But everywhere you look, there's a physical brick and mortar casino.
Now, are those tribal like here, or are they private?
It's both.
Both?
Yes, they're just simply everywhere.
Okay.
And my imagination says, well, that industry paid the state representatives
Right.
to pass a law that made online gaming illegal, so they didn't have to compete with outside interests.
There you go.
They are a special interest.
Good point.
Right.
Yep.
I actually reminded me of something that happened years ago. Now I love like researching carnival scams, but this is actually about a casino. So we're going to go see Duran Duran. So Buddy and I we're going to go down there and get the tickets.
I love Duran Duran.
It's that did you hear about Simon Le Bonnet's buffet? He was hungry like a wolf. But so we go. My friend the night before, he studies for like 3 hours how to do it's like the blackjack or the poker table. He's got cards. He studies. So I'm walking around. We get I'll go get the tickets. I'm expecting them. Okay, where are we going to go on a vacation to what tropical island after you win? He lost all his money in 20 minutes.
Wow.
House always wins.
Yeah.
That's
Your story about the casinos in Montana reminds me of the liquor stores here in New York. I mean, stop and think about why you can't buy wine or liquor at a Wegmans
right.
or a Walmart or a Costco.
Yeah.
That is unique to this state. I mean, how many other states you pop into are very same Wegmans?
Louisiana. You can buy booze in a Rite Aid.
That's unique to our state.
When I was in Russia, they had vodka vending machines.
It's very different than New York, that's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Why would a large entity like Wegmans not be able to sell a bottle of vodka or a bottle of whatever,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
And it was because you have these shops get together as a group and say, this is what we want you to write. Here's some money for your campaign. And somebody goes, hey, that sounds like a great idea now that you've given me some money.
Yeah.
That one kind of makes that one to me kind of makes sense, because if you can just go to a Wegmans and buy liquor, then you're in the plaza that you're in. That trip to the second trip to the liquor store is avoided, and they're going to lose tons of money.
Mm-hmm.
So
the liquor store.
yeah,
That's right.
Right.
Small one, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Because there's always in a plaza with a Wegmans.
And that's the same thing. Brick and mortar casino. They can't compete with the online, so they need a law to protect them.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About Halloween stuff now. Anybody after we
alienated audience we've been talking about.
Yeah. Any good Halloween stories or memories or how it is for you?
Sideways Rain when I was a kid.
Boy. I remember as a kid trick-or-treating, right?
Yeah.
You get up on your costume, and the costumes in the late 70s were basically a plastic mask you'd buy for a couple. Right, exactly.
That's right, Greg. Stick them up.
Yeah.
And I remember how terribly uncomfortable those masks
were.
Yeah,
you couldn't do hot.
After 10 minutes, you're either super hot or your nose is frozen, right?
Right.
I think when you mentioned that, now I picture Gold Circle. And all I can do is sense memory the smell of that plastic.
Yeah, absolutely. My very first trick-or-treating experience, so you need to know this about me so you have a little context. I wasn't born here in the U.S. I was born in Nicaragua. I was 9 when I got here. But at 7 or so was my first trick-or-treating. Halloween is not a thing in Nicaragua. But, U.S. culture is U.S. culture. You love it. From when you're not here, man, you love the movies, the stars. So I remember being driven out to my aunt and uncle's neighborhood because they were affluent. So there's this American tradition. You put on a costume and you go to a house and you say trick or treat. We probably were saying trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat. ¿Cómo se dice? Trick or treat. All right, so we finally got it right. But we're I remember as a kid thinking, this is crazy. You just say that, and then they give you free candy? I got to come to this country. But, yeah, that was my experience about 3 or 4 houses. They took us around in a car. I'm like, oh, this is neat.
This made me think of a related story. It's not Halloween, but it's Halloween-ish. So I'm over my friend Rob's house. He's in Pittsburgh. He lives in Sherwood by, Sherwood whatever that neighborhood by. So I go in. We're late. It's 12 o'clock, and I'm thinking our old neighbor in Gates. Somebody rings the door at 12. You call the cops.
Oh yeah.
Somebody rings the door. He's like, Rob. He's like to me, Rob, you just go get them and do this, Rob. So I go up there. I open the door. There's a 20-year-old in his underwear holding a cake. And I'm like, Rob, I think it's for you.
Yeah.
And it was a kid from RIT doing a pledge to a frat.
Oh my God! But that reminds me of seeing one of these then and now videos where they're like, back in the 1970s when somebody rang your doorbell, how did your parents react? They were like, get up, clean this house, put on some coffee.
Right.
They would bring out the best pastries that they had, the stuff that they reserved for guests that you wouldn't dare eat if you were a child there. And to now, how Dad responds when someone rings the door unexpectedly. Get down. Where's the gun?
Yeah, right.
Who the fuck is that out there? What the fuck you doing?
Now
man?
we got
That's
more and more
yeah.
in my neighborhood in like Milwaukee go, hello, you are being filmed.
And that's true.
ring
My
cameras.
mom used to buy special candies that were like not for you, for when we have guests. Like the buttery mints and stuff like that. You're like, don't you dare touch it.
Oh, the biggest thing for us,
Just
though,
ashtray would come
this
out.
was like in these days. Plus, in those days, remember, it was like
Keep your butt out of here.
what they would do. My parents and their friends and relatives, they would always go to dinner, but they would always pick a house to come to first.
Yeah.
So this in the good old 70s. You got sloshed before you went to dinner.
Yeah.
Then you came back. So the thing was,
I'm not paying $1.25 for a drink.
was
Hell no.
$1.25. It's like I know somebody who saw Led Zeppelin for $3.50 on their third tour, and I remember people were complaining because the Stones charged like $7.76.
Yeah.
But so my mom, though, the problem was I had watered down the liquor cabinet, and I figured I wouldn't get caught. It's like, Mom! Like, I didn't do it, the dog did it.
Yeah.
Mo used to water down the vodka.
So that's great. I might have learned it from him, but I'm not sure. I was 14 years old. I found the whiskey in my mother's closet in the hallway, and for years it was the same level. They never took a drink out of that bottle for literally years.
My dad too. Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder what that is. And I took a little sip, and it was like my brain just lit right up, right? So I'm like, wow, that's good stuff. But I knew I wasn't supposed to have a lot at one time. So as I took a sip, I'd always replace it with a little bit of water. So it always looked like the same level. Well, a couple years later, there's shit growing in it. And my mother moves something out of the top shelf and sees this bottle, and it's got like some plant life coming in from the bottom. And I hear this scream, and she's like, "Oh my God, the whiskey's gone bad!" And I'm like, "I guess I'm not drinking any more of that."
That's like when I had all the maraschino cherries, but I replaced them with green cherries by mistake. And my dad, just like the alcohol must have changed them. What was I when I was in Russia? When I was in St. Petersburg, this is 1990 January. So there's like this mineral water. You remind me? So I'm drinking, and the person at my table goes, "You have a strong stomach?" And I go, "Why?" I mean, growing on the bottom. So I see it. I see literally on cue this girl to my left who just.
So there was something in the bottle.
It was like
water.
all kinds of crap on the bottom.
Oy. Yeah.
I had this vodka.
Didn't have the alcohol to kill it, huh?
I had this vodka called Devil's Springs that was 100 proof or something. This shit was like paint thinner. I mean, it was strong. I mean, it was good, but it's like almost too much.
Greg says almost.
Almost. The best.
Did you read? Did you see the thing with?
He's still here. If it was too much.
Did
Right.
you see the thing with Alex Van Halen? He's got this book out, right?
Yes.
Brothers.
Yeah.
So he's got a story in there where his father gave him his first drink at 6 years old, and he gave him whiskey, I guess. And I'm like, 6 years old, and I guess he was quite the drinker for a long time. He said he would get up getting up to go into bed, he'd be hammered, I guess.
I don't know what I think about that book if I want to read it or not, honestly, because I think in some ways, how much truth is he going to tell?
Well, he said there wasn't going to be a lot of dirt in it.
Well, what I heard, one of my friends said that he doesn't even mention Sammy Hagar, though.
He only gets through by 1984, too. They say. Yeah.
That's what Bill Wyman did in his Stones book. He only gets to the 70s. Mm-hmm. But he mentions the way they treat Michael Anthony, he's like...
he got screwed,
Yeah.
It's too bad.
No, one of the stories about that is that, you can't say if this is true or not, Now, Eddie would say, well, I had to teach him the songs. Yeah, Eddie, you didn't read music, so you had to teach him the songs.
Right.
But there's the story that Alex was in big financial trouble. You know, and they couldn't boot Hagar or Rob because those guys are the singers. So who were you going to boot? You know, or like cut the pay of.
Wow.
But you never know. That's the thing. Like I read Noel Monk's Running with the Devil, which was... Good grief, they're still alive.
Yeah, I know.
But you don't know how much of this stuff is true. And one of the sort of funnier things now, Ozzy's got that Hall of Fame thing where they used to have like a big punch bowl full of cocaine and they toured with Black Sabbath. They came back. Ozzy got into it.
Ozzy got into everything.
I'll be at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame next month.
They're finally inducting you after like a thousand bands.
I'll give you a full report when I get back. No, I wish they were.
Yeah. Ozzy and Zakk Wylde, right? Is Ozzy going in?
I met
Ozzy
Zakk.
I think he went in, or I saw Zakk Wylde play.
What's Zakk Wylde prepping for? I just saw the announcement that he is.
Oh, not Zakk Wylde.
Is Zakk Wylde currently touring?
I saw him with Black Label Society the last one I saw him play with.
I met Jakey Lee, not Zakk Wylde.
Oh, did you guys hear Jakey Lee got shot?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did he survive?
Yeah, shot multiple times.
Wow.
Is he okay?
Outside he's going to be okay.
Oh, you sure he's okay?
Oh, I don't know.
No, because if you're sure he's okay, was it a shot in the dark?
Oh.
If anything happened, I apologize.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether he's what he's going to be left with, but he got shot multiple times.
Random shot too, like just for no reason.
He's 67. Imagine having been a rock star, living that life. You survived it all, and then you're walking your dog at 2:45 in the morning outside your house. You get shot.
Yeah, that's brutal.
I hated that solo.
See, that's one of the tours I saw Ozzy on was with. I just missed Randy Rhoads. That's my big thing for. He played on Easter, Diary of a Madman. It was like 2 weeks after Randy died. It was with Bernie Torn, but I guess if you read Rudy Stars was Riding the Rails, Brad Gillis was in the back listening to play. Mm-hmm. But reading that book really made me think we'll never prove it now, like what actually happened, because there's a story like they called the guy. There was like the bus driver manager. They said that I guess like Deep Purple wouldn't have him on because they said there's just some bad vibes about this guy. And his ex-wife was on the bus. They don't know. They thought. Now Rudy says he thought he saw Randy struggling with them, or they were doing something. Mm-hmm. So he trying to hit the bus, but they did bring up someone else who had some health problems. Did she collapse and hit that? But we'll never know. But the thing Sharon was all ticked about, Sharon Osbourne, was if I only knew, I would have stopped him. But think about this too, like welcome hangovers, because Randy was like shaking Rudy. Come on, we're gonna go fly. He's like, oh no, I'm not going.
Yeah. That's what saved Rudy's life.
Yeah,
a hangover.
He didn't want to get up. He just not want to get up like at 8 to go fly. He's like, I'll skip it.
Wow.
Well, I would definitely choose life over flying.
Yes.
Not that he knew at the time. You know, throwback to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm not a big fan of that organization.
No, it sounds messed up to me, but I just want to go see this stuff, I guess.
Well, this is not a comment about. I mean, it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You would think that the rock and rollers who have been around from the 60s, 70s, and 80s have sold millions and millions of albums and have had dozens of tours and fans everywhere, that those people would be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before, say, a rap star or a country star or any other genre.
This was a music Hall of Fame.
Well, there's a lot of money in that setup,
modern music.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to follow the money, right? Mm-hmm. You know, my favorite band, Scorpions, everybody here knows that, is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They've been touring for almost 60 years.
Right.
Yeah. They've sold millions of albums across the world, and they're still not yet in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You got to know the idea of taste, too, and I always, I can be a music snob myself. I remember famously Weeze called me hipper than thou one time, which I thought was awesome. But you can go, I remember when, one of the musicians in Rat died, and I forgot who it was. Robin did? Yeah. Because I had one of them actually was a friend on Facebook for a while. I was telling the story about how Stephen Pearcy poured beer on me. It wasn't just me. He was at the concert. He poured it down.
Well, I wish he poured beer on me.
No, I wish when I got home, he would have gotten the whipping I got from my parents. It was like, didn't believe my lies. But what happened was, so I think it was the Times. They go, okay, everybody's lauding the Ramones now, and I mean, I'm sort of scared myself now. You can hear the Ramones in Target. You know, see Ramones shirts
No
now.
longer rebellion music.
But they said Rat in one album easily outsold the whole Ramones catalog.
Yeah.
Now, Paul Stanley would say, okay, what's good? Look, we sold 80 million albums.
Right.
So, what do you sell? It's good.
Well,
The people have spoken, right?
Yeah.
You're in the business of selling stuff, pushing units.
Well, and part of that, part of that is what you hear. I mean, back when we grew up, you didn't have the internet where you could go exploring. You had to listen to it on your local radio station. So you had 3, 4, 5 radio stations to choose from, and they had a catalog that they were probably given the music to play, and then they would play so much of this music. So if you heard a song one time and you never heard it again, the chances of you becoming a fan of that artist are not real good.
True.
But if you heard that song every day for 3 months in a row, and then they started adding in other artists, other songs from the same artist, that you're actually being sort of groomed to be the fan,
and
right?
there's a point about that, too. Okay, it's from Noel Monk's
Good point.
book.
Well,
Noel
Payola and
Monk's
all
book,
that,
Running
too,
with the Devil, where they said, what the heck was his name? Fair Warning. What was the name with Mean Streets and stuff on it?
Fair Warning.
Fair Warning.
Yeah.
They said, okay, and I like that album. I would put that as my second favorite Van Halen.
I love
Fair Warning.
They said it was a little weirder. It wasn't selling that well. So what did they do? The record execs, it was either big briefcases of coke or money. They would go around to DJs and pay them to play it.
There was
play
so
it,
much of
play
that,
it.
Yeah. Unchained is a fucking...
See, I love that album. I guess it just didn't sell as well.
That's what wanted to make me get to the radio. No.
That was supposedly the album, too. They cut, like, was going to be an instrumental. Ralph found out and came in and did the lyrics. But that would be my second favorite after the first album.
Yeah,
You know,
I loved it, too.
But
Very different world
But,
back then.
well, remember what
Very
said, though, too,
different
what happened, and I still do this today, what happened then was like, okay, hey, what'd you get? And a lot of times friends, we just get an album, oh, this cover's awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody had the ELO because it had the little spaceship. I bought it for $2.99 before me.
And there were also organic stories in those days of a radio station playing a song and then the listeners calling in, playing it again and requesting it and saying, we had so many requests for this song that it became a hit. You know what I mean?
Prime example, Time of the Season was a B-side. It started, I guess Rod Argent told the story of, it was like some radio station, it might have been Iowa, and somebody played it. It just organically went around.
I wonder what's on the other side,
why did I play this enough? Let's turn it on the other side. Yeah. But, I mean, that's the thing. There's actually a channel I found on YouTube. It's by Zach Atkins. He's a metal guy. He reminds you of my friend Oz because of the way he looks. He looks like your metal guy. But he makes some good points. He does a lot of stuff about meat and grease being rip-offs. But what he said, he gets this one thing is all musicians are liars. And I'll tell you why. Because you get that guy, I want to play for those 5 fans, man. I want them to dig it. Bullshit. You want to pay for like 100,000 fans?
Yeah.
You're going to give that up. He said one of his friends goes, if I ever make it, I'm dumping my girlfriend the same day.
So, John,
you have an island, though. I mean, you play with so many bands.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was just going to say, I'm going to go back to John's point for a second. Just yesterday, as a matter of fact, I found this documentary on, I forget which streaming channel, the Roku channel, I think. And it was about the Ventures. And that was extremely interesting. How they started and the Maserati guitars and all that stuff. But one of the guy's mothers was a singer, like probably in the 50s or late 40s or whatever. And Dad wasn't into it, but Mom supported him. Mom knew a couple of program people and people in the business, and she pushed them along, and it was really interesting how they got their start. They've done 200 records or some crazy shit like that, and what they managed to do is, and then they had one of the guys from Little Straight Jackets do it, and Billy Bob Thornton, and all these people, and how they kind of created surf music and how the punk ethic embraced that, and how they went back to those records. And what the Ventures ended up doing is whatever style was in vogue, they just did instrumentals of those songs. They even did a disco album, which probably sucked. But, I mean, that was kind of an interesting niche for them to be in. So and they did all that stuff. And in Japan, are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah.
Japan, outrageously huge.
So the story comes to mind from surf music. When I met Dick Dale at the House of Guitars. So, okay, you have to. This is something, if you ever, God rest his soul, he's passed away now, but if you ever met Dick Dale, you have to understand a few things. So I'm like third in line, sitting there. Takes like over an hour late. People so he comes in. Now the thing about Dick Dale is if you start talking to him, he will go on forever. And I asked him about, I always say, was you, Scotty Moore, and Link Ray for me. Those are the first three, really. And I would say now I would consider Jeff Beck probably the best guitarist, technically. But those three, and he's like, well, I had for surf guitar, I was left-handed, so I played like this. By the time I was done, he was going to buy the magazine off me that I had him sign, and he invited me to his house at Big Sur. And then I'm looking behind me going, okay, these people have waited for over an hour. I'm getting jumped in the parking lot. But I found out, like in interviews, if you're going to have a 15-minute interview with them, it's going to be like this. We would be here for 4 hours.
Yeah, he's talkative sort.
Yeah, and I think he played for 3 hours, too.
Wow.
That's super cool.
But so I always had that in. Same thing with Ian McLaughlin. Unfortunately, he passed away. Got to know him a little, which was great. It's great, when you ask. Go on.
Oh, speaking of, I just want, while you mentioned him, when we were in Niagara Falls last weekend, I forgot what station we were listening to. We were listening to some Sirius XM channel, and they were playing the selections from the Faces BBC or some kind of thing that just came out.
BBC session.
Holy crap, was that good? Because, I mean, they sounded like the record, kind of, but you could tell it was different. And just great. I mean, I'm going to go get this thing.
Can you imagine what's in the vault in the BBC session?
Oh, my God.
Oh, I've got every one of those I have is just incredible.
The Beatles one is very good.
But that's one I was sort of I was just really happy, and thank you to Tom Cohen for bringing him in. I mean, we weren't friends, but we were acquaintances, with Tony Levin I am, but Ian McLaughlin, because just to know, for me, this was a big thing. But the first thing, the first time I met him, he looks at the CD I give him. This is a bootleg. He goes, I go, where'd you get it? I go, I said, it goes, I'll sign it anyways, though. What's your name, Rob? I had a manager named Rob. He ripped me off. We're going to get along fabulously. But so I run into him in the Bob shop, and I wanted to ask him about Rod Stewart's biography. And I go, okay, you guys, Rod said you were the first guys, the Faces, to get kicked out of the Holiday Inn chain. You got back in by... You started claiming you were Fleetwood Mac, and they got kicked out. And Ian looks at me, he goes, Rod's bollocks. He tells the stories well, it was one night at a Holiday Inn chain. I threw this out the window. Why? I felt like it. So we registered as family because they were on our label. They tossed them out. But it was great. It's the first-hand source. But he was great. And I heard the whole unfortunate story because Greg Townsend, he plays the low string chick, is Nick Lowe. Ian was touring with them. We found out he was supposed to be on their tour opening in Minneapolis. And he never showed up. They were like, this isn't like him at all. And I guess he passed away.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys.
I'll keep you from showing up.
Greg, you brought up the Ventures and this show you watched and playing different music. And I know a lot of people that want to go to a live concert and hear the music album played, basically. Right. They want to hear exactly what they've heard on a music album live in concert. And I'm exactly the opposite of that. If I go out and see something live, I want to hear something different than what was on the album. Where do you guys stand on that?
I like work in progress, heat of the moment thing. I mean, I think you should stay true to the form. I mean, make sure that the signature things in the solos are there and stuff like that. But certain vocals, you're not going to be able to hit certain high notes on any given night. So if a singer works around a melody, I think it's cool. Because the show is, number one, they're human. Number two, whatever they recorded, probably they grabbed him on a good day, and okay, great, we got it. You know what I mean? And then live, it's going to vary.
How do you go, Dan? Like, if you cover a song,
I am totally in John's camp, but I understand what Greg's talking about. But as a fan, when I go to watch a band, and keep in mind that probably top of the influence chart for me is a band like Led Zeppelin. Known, and how many times have I read biographies that their shows were different from show to show. As an adult, I admire Government Mule and Warren Haynes and his approach to things. So I am in the camp of, I don't want to hear what was played on the record. I want to hear your interpretation tonight of what you did on the record, and without the full set of instruments that you had in the studio.
My only gripe is when they play everything at 100 miles an hour. The Stones are the worst.
They had a tempo issue. Yeah, they have a tempo issue. But so I like seeing that as a fan. There are certain. Also, I went to see Nickelback last summer, and you got the record. There are shows today that are choreographed from beginning to end. They know where on the stage to stand at the time of the song so that their hair doesn't get burned.
Right.
That choreographed from beginning to end. And you feel it, and then you're like, okay, what am I paying for? I'm paying for a performance and entertainment to watch. It's a spectacle, right?
Exactly.
But I'm still down for hearing the musicians interpret it. Certain songs you gotta do note for note. Otherwise, you just.
I heard a Led Zeppelin live thing, and it was amazingly different. Robert Plant was singing the guitar harmonies and things like that. It's kind of cool.
It was a beautiful exchange between Page and Plant.
Yeah.
The live stuff.
Well, and I grew up saying things like, have you heard the live version? The live version is better because I like this part of it. Oh my God, I'm going to draw a blank on the name of the song. Hey lady, you got the love I need.
Oh yeah.
Over the hills and far away.
Yeah. Over the hills and far away. Compare the studio to the live version and what Page is doing on the guitar. And when I actually sit down to play that song, I make a decision before I start. Am I playing the live version or the studio version?
Well,
and it's.
I guess, that last concert they played at the O2 Arena was the only time Jimmy Page played the Soul Star Arena having note for note. It's because Robert Plant.
O2?
You're talking.
Even then, I don't think he did a note for
note. Well,
note.
he said he did, though, but it was close. Because Plant, I guess, was like sort of, we're going to do it in the middle. We're not going to improvise.
Yeah.
So he goofed around a little. I had the live album.
Yeah.
But I guess, now Rob Mount, my good friend, he said, the one thing he said, there's a little bit different. If you're seeing a tribute band, you don't want improv. You want the songs. Now, a cover band, that's different. You can make it your own.
Yeah.
And I know the Eagles, in Don Feld's book, said, Henley, you had to go note for note.
Oh, I know.
But if you saw Clapton, one of my college friends loved Clapton, saw him in Syracuse, you want to see go off on the 10-minute solos.
He covered Marley, I Shot the Sheriff.
Yeah.
Watching a live performance of Clapton and his full complement of band, Nathan East on bass, taking turns and doing what they do with I Shot the Sheriff, that's not the record. I'm like, that's amazing.
And last time I saw Bob Dylan.
Within the structure.
Yeah, last time I saw Bob Dylan, and note to anybody who's a Dylan fan, he may be very good or he may be very bad. So last time I saw him, I thought he was very good. So I saw him, but how many times have I heard some of these songs?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there what is he playing?
Yeah.
Halfway through like a Rolling Stone, it was like, wait a second, is it not?
Yeah. So yesterday, Greg texted me. He's like, hey, what are you thinking we're going to jam to tomorrow? He suggests Season of the Witch, and I listened to the Donovan version, but then went to Stills, right? And I'm like, that's a jammy. That is a funky.
It's 11 minutes, It's like,
that is a funky.
I thought you guys would both be going. I don't care as long as these two clowns can sing on it.
But you see examples of an artist covering a song and putting their own spin on it. There are two different versions of that song.
Well, Al Cooper was a genius. He's behind all that stuff.
Yeah, it's good feel.
Oh, I'll give you one too. Okay, for Michaela, that Phil Leach died. So you talk about improv, the Grateful Dead, and how they would do their all that kind of stuff.
You listen to one song that always exemplifies this to me. listen to the studio version of I Want You to Want Me, and then listen to the Budokan. There's no comparison. The studio version is ding 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 ding. It's the wimpiest, poppiest thing ever. I mean, it's cute. It's probably made to sound cute, and it is, but
made to sound memorable, baby.
Yeah, but you listen to that live version is what broke them. And then you go back and listen to that studio version, and you're like, this isn't even the same song.
Remember, that song's a parody, anyways. It's supposed to be a parody of that kind of song. That's why it's sort of it's like what's so funny about Peace, Love, and Understanding?
Right.
It's a parody of the 1960s song.
I love listening for the difference in guitar tone from live to studio. I mean,
True,
it's just a huge difference. Live, you're turning up louder, the amp's a little more saturated. I mean, listen to AC/DC live versus AC/DC in studios.
Right.
It's a thing.
And that's my big thing, too. My theory on that, too, is going to concert. We've talked about this multiple times on the podcast. You want a show.
Because we ran out of ideas?
Yes. But you want to...
Wow, Greg.
They're old nuggets. They're favorites the fans expect. You know, after season 1,000 or whatever.
Okay, sorry.
If I go to a show and I want to hear the music, I could, if it's going to be the same stuff in the album, why not just stay home, listen to the album?
Save yourself $350 nowadays.
Yeah.
Or worse, if they're going to give you exactly the album and use backing tracks to accomplish it.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right. Because you're then paying $350 to listen to the album you have at home.
And I love Rush.
Way louder.
I love Rush. But I would love to hear the trio accomplish the arrangements where they overdub stuff, you know, just the three of them without backing track. I bet you it would sound like they're kissing.
The last time I ever saw him, Time Warp Tour, still Neil's drum solo was the best I've ever seen. Hands down.
Right to the end. Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean, it was just, and I've told my famous meeting with Geddy Lee. I was walking my dog on the canal, he biked by, and we had a grand old talk. Hi. Yeah.
Very involved.
You know, he was just and I saw this and I go, this is the best drum solo I've ever going to see. This is incredible.
Yeah, he was amazing.
But I guess the fans got mad like years ago because when they would do like 2112, Geddy would sing, "We are the plumbers who come to fix your sink," and I guess he would see people in the front row who, you know, either sing it right or don't sing it.
Wow. It is the artist's tune. They can do whatever they want.
But they had the one, I don't remember this either, but when I saw Deep Purple, I was way in the back. So I guess Richie Blackmore turned his back to the audience the whole show. But I like that stuff. I saw Black Oak, Arkansas at the festival 10, and Jim Dandy was drunk and fell off the stage. And people were, you had to be mad about that. Like, no, that's what I want to see. I can listen to the music. I was disappointed Steven Tyler was sober every time I saw Aerosmith.
There's the spectacle, right?
Yeah. I've always been amazed at the whole self-loathing thing of a lot of rock stars or famous bands like Richie Blackmore. Like, why would you start to not like your audience? Like, screw them, and I don't care what they think. And why would you do that? I mean, it's almost like sabotaging your career. Like, what is the urge to do that? Why would you want to do that?
I read Ian Gillan's book, and he said he was saying Richie would, a lot of times, they had to force him
just to get press
to do an encore because he said the audience had to deserve it. And I don't know, it seems like you hear accounts of people who get him at the right time. He hates, you're great, Mr. Blackmore, you're awesome. But if you start talking like about football, soccer, or what was that quote? Like there's a story about Jafria and Greg Goldie. They were told they couldn't do solos on the tour when they opened for him.
Wow. So
when we had Blackfoot here, I just missed. But he goes, what the heck? It's the last night on here. Heck with him. I'm going to do a solo. So it was okay. He did this. So he did the solo. So then he sees Richie coming down like the hall. He's like, I'm going to do a reaming out. And Richie goes, that was amazing. You show me how you did it. Because he still loved guitar.
Yeah.
So I think when you never met somebody who don't know him, you can only speculate. But he could be like, it sounds like he's somebody he likes to make people nervous and guessing. One of those.
Personality is personality.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that want to feel special, right?
Yeah.
And if he's in the mindset that the audience needs to deserve the ending of a show that's traditional in live music, which is the encore, that's sort of like making him very special. Like, did the audience receive him in a way that makes him want to play more for them?
That's true, yeah.
It's a weird mentality that a lot of people have to feel, want to feel special, different from other people.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's the story in the book.
That's a good point.
I'll tell you this one more story about it. But I guess Ian Gillan's at home and there's a knock on the door. He goes and answers. There's Richie in his little pilgrim's hat. And he's asking okay, you want to join Rainbow? This was after he got rid of Dio, or either Dio or Graham Bonnet. And he's like, not really. Then he notices Richie's girlfriend's back by his fence. He's like, your girlfriend could come in. Why is she over there? Oh, I thought when you saw me, you might punch me in the face.
That's crazy.
He had that self-awareness, I suppose.
Right? Yeah, but that's but that's how it is like that. I mean, I guess in anybody's preference, I mean, if you're entertained, and now if you're entertained for the amount of money you're paying, it's a good show.
Right.
But I think I love the idea of improv.
So I have a question for you guys. Last October, November, it's been almost a year or so, went to see one of my favorite artists to see live, and one of my favorite artists overall, Dropkick Murphys. Love them.
Right. Yep.
I absolutely love their music, and they are second to none in audience engagement. Like, they do things differently on stage than they do on the album. They engage the audience. They get things done on stage that really gets the audience moving.
Come on, you fuckers.
It's amazing. Really, it's quite an amazing thing to watch. But the last 3 or 4 times I've seen them, and I've seen them once or twice a year for several years, the last 3 or 4 times I've seen them, they've stopped right in the middle of the show to give a political diatribe about how people should be voting and how they don't want to see the world go to hell because of their favorite candidate hasn't been elected, the other person has. And last November, I walked out of that show and I looked at Tamara and I said, it's the last time I'm ever going to watch them live. Yeah. I'm just not going back.
My view on that, if you vote for somebody because a celebrity says to vote for him, or a musician, you're an idiot.
Well, that may be true, but here's the reality. When you pay good money to go see a live show, that's a disconnection from reality.
Right.
That is, you're going into a space that makes you feel good and makes you feel like you want to be a part of this little exchange between the artist and the audience. Even if you're in the back row, there's still an exchange there. There's an energy that comes about. And to stop it right in the middle and go into a political diatribe, what that does is it breaks the magic.
Right.
And it takes you right back to reality.
More of the same, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And then you have to try to get back into it after that. I absolutely hated that process, and I just said, you know what, that's enough. I'm not going to see him. And a friend of mine called me up and said, there's a free show in Syracuse at the State Fair. Or do you want to go? And I said, no, I don't want to go. I'm not going to go try to disconnect from reality and have them snap it in half right in the middle of the show.
Mm-hmm. That happened. Wow. Now, maybe it should have been expected, but when I saw Don Henley, there's a point in the show where he started going off about Walden Ponds and all that.
Right.
And people were booing and saying, play the music. But I was worried for years about seeing Steve Earle, because I love his music, but he's very political. It's like, okay, I want to listen to the music, but I heard when he was doing Copperhead Road, he wasn't very political. Mm-hmm. So he's going, he does it. The only thing he did, which was hysterical, was, this was here, he's going on about being a Yankees fan, and some people are going, Yankees suck. He's like, fuck you. But that was, and he started, one of my friends bailed at the encore because he said, watch it. Then he started to get a little. Mm-hmm. But, people want to be, I think that's the problem now, too, with a lot of things, is people want to just have a break from this stuff and be entertained. They want to watch their football or go to their movies.
I think a lot of that might be you start to get full of you think you're way bigger than you are. You think, well, I can shape things, I can change things, and that's your pulpit. That's like, if you go from city to city and do this, hopefully maybe you'll figure you're gonna brainwash, or however you want to say it. You know what I mean? Influence your decisions, and then people leave the concert and that's in their head, even though they're not thinking about it, subliminal type thing, and then when they get to vote, they might, so-and-so, I remember that, he said that about this person.
Billy, how you told me to vote for Pedro.
Yeah, well, and I think to John's point, we also happen to live in a time where it's harder to unplug. right?
Yeah.
Generations before us had an easier time unplugging because today everybody on your Facebook feed is telling you what they think.
Right.
To Greg's point that you have millions of people thinking I have the power to change something by posting it on Facebook.
Right.
You see it a million times. You say, I'm fucking tired of this shit. I'm going to go to the Dropkick Murphys.
Right.
And then they stop their concert and say, do this. You're like, what the fuck? I can't get away with it.
Exactly.
I completely understand. I completely understand.
Since I think your Facebook like this is, oh no, this person's doing political rant. Oh, this person's doing political rant. They get to me, they go, is this guy okay?
There's an obvious answer to that, Rob.
Yeah. But I was going to go back to Halloween for a minute again, and I don't like nostalgia in a lot of ways. I think, like, if you live in the past, you're depressed. Because a lot of times people idealize the past because they think it sucks now. But I still think our Halloweens were great. But one of the funniest things about talk about that I enjoyed now, it's almost like the John Cougar song we were talking about, Cherry Bomb, but remember when? There were these gangs of like older teens who would go around. We had to go in packs because they would try to jump you and steal the candy.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
You too? This happened to everybody, but we used to call them the pumpkin heads because they used to like wear the mask. But the story was, one of my friends was convinced, someone lived down the street, if they got you, they get like a little green pumpkin bonk you on the head. They did get one of my friends. But I'm thinking about this now, you know, and can you imagine, okay, being like pushing 60 now going, and you didn't know the secret of your life. He was a candy thief.
Yeah.
You know, imagine. But the weird part about it, like, could you think about that now? There'd be an hysteria and the rest.
You know, there is, Halloween is better with a little bit of danger on it. And we had some as kids. You remember, like, our parents had to go through the candy, make sure there was a cyanide-laced candy.
Right.
Which comes from
a razor blade and an apple.
You know that?
Razor blade and an apple.
You know where that comes from?
We had the Tylenol that was coated.
Oh, remember the Tylenol?
Yeah.
PCP.
Mm-hmm.
Where does it come from?
There's a story, I think it was in Texas somewhere, it was like a doctor. He wanted to kill his kid. So what he did, you could find this online. Wow. So what he did was he got like remember those sugar swizzle sticks? Mm-hmm. He poisoned a bunch of them. So give them to kids on Halloween, so to throw them off the trail.
Wow. How weird is that?
But I always said, see, my view on that...
I want to kill my kids, so I'm going to kill 30.
Yeah, 30 of them.
Yeah, right.
Logical, huh? But my view on that always, I used to explain this when I was a kid. I'm like, okay, you think you're out there for 24 hours. You're only out, like, how many streets, right? Yeah. You're going to know. Especially, like, we got an apple. It hit the house. Because, it's true.
Did you ever, when you were trick-or-treating, I think I did this, being a dumb little kid. Did you ever, you got your stuff on, your mask and everything, and you go to your neighbors like, oh, hey, Mr. So-and-so, don't worry, it's me. And then you tell them who you are, like, which defeats the whole purpose of it.
I'm not really a ghost. I'm not really a 4'8" ghost. Don't worry about it. Before you have a heart attack, Mrs. Smith.
I had the one year, so you always get the plastics. One year, I'm like, I'm going to go all out. I had this it was like you make like costumes with like egg cartons. Yeah. So I made this spaceman out of paper mache. And I keep thinking I couldn't see it all. And was wrong. So I'm walking up to our neighbors. I'm like, who? Oh, hi, Rob.
Oh, I watched this video.
You always remember, like, one of my neighbors, we knew they would give up the McDonald's fries, and you'd want to go, and you go back to that house wearing a different mask. Hey, it's you again.
Yeah.
At what age were you finally like, all right, I don't want to go, I can't go trick or treating, but you still wanted to?
That's 1 year, probably 8th grade.
13.
No, because what happened, I remember. You know why I remember that well, though? No. Because, the year before, we were like, I lit a Roman candle off a stop sign and a police car stopped at the stop sign. It's like something out of a movie. I ran and banged my head on a tree. But no, when I was in 8th, so I was, we were going around. It was the first time, like, there were some, like, people, like, especially, like, I remember this older woman go, aren't you guys too old for this?
Oh, yeah.
That was the one. So that was sort of...
Some people start that when people are 7.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to buy as much candy as I do.
There were some people I know went out freshman year of high school. Just a few. But I remember that Halloween just because the weather was pretty bad. But I stopped at 8th grade. I should have stopped at 6th. Really.
Well, I was getting mixed signals. I come from a family of short people, so when we had friendlies who like, you'd be 14 and I'm like, you're under 12. You're under 12. And they asked you're under 12.
Wink, wink.
And all of my brothers went through this whole thing. They're like, don't worry about it when you're 16.
Well, my dad, golfing, senior discounts.
Yeah.
So my dad,
that's new.
Dad would go up and go, 2 senior discounts. And it really looked like he said, I was 20.
So I can understand why going to trick-or-treat freshman year might have been a problem for me. My parents think I can get under 12 at friendlies.
That's funny.
Enter the bar parties at Halloween. then it's all good again.
Yes.
So my fiancée Tamara looks forward to Halloween every year. We get 50 or 60 kids coming through with all sorts of different costumes, and she loves to see these things. And so she loves to hand out candy. Well, I watched a video the other day about a guy. He was getting ready for Halloween and getting ready to hand out the candy. He goes, I'm waiting for the night of great disappointments. And it showed him taking Ferrero Rocher wrappers and putting a Brussels sprout inside of it and rewrapping it.
Awesome. I like that.
I had the line last year. So last year there was no one. So what I did was I grabbed we had a thing of candy. I just grab stuff it all in a bag. I go walking around because there's a haunted house down the street. It's actually very cool. They do it every year. But there's kids around, so there's they see me on the street. I'll give them candy. So I'm walking out, and there's a guy with his little
Better
girl.
be careful with that, right?
No, this is what I'm getting to. So I go out, right? I go out and I go, hey, you want some candy? Then I go, no, I live over there. You don't see a white van, do you?
Yeah.
But no, because I'm telling them because nobody's on the street at all.
Yeah, you don't look like a serial killer. Don't worry about it.
Okay, we try to do. You are now Frank Ashcroft was a favorite guest because he brought coffee and bagels. You are now our favorite guest. No, but it's
funny.
gone. But but that's the thing. I sort of get disappointed about it because I remember as being a kid. But the other thing, though, working at a bar on Halloween sort of poisoned me about Halloween and amateur night because those were you can compare Thanksgiving Eve. The holidays. No, I don't know when you've been to it. Halloween.
Well, you become nuts.
It was brutal.
St. Patrick's Day too.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, what I thought was weird because I had to work yesterday, and I worked till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, and in the front of the store, as you walk in, they had a table, and there was a sheriff and our the lost asset guy from the store, the shoplifting catcher guy. Right? So,
well, you said it, sorry.
So, and I'm sitting there, and I looked at him. I said, "What are you guys on Halloween alert?" And the sheriff goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay."
You know what happened the last couple of years is I've heard stories about this from more than one person. They put the bowl out, and they just say, take a handful. They steal the whole bowl.
Big hands.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? It's fun. I mean, I sort of like a little bit of leeway.
I think it's great. I think if you're in a good environment, if you're just around your neighborhood and your little cul-de-sacs and all that stuff, it's okay. I don't know. I think it's kind of lost a lot of its charm in certain areas. Nobody's going to go walk around in some dark streets. And
Where are you guys on Halloween house decorations becoming more elaborate than Christmas decorations?
Okay, I'm not going to say the name.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
But one of the things that I've heard, I've had friends tell me, their neighborhood, and this is just humanity, it's just, they can't do something and keep it fun, where they really would do a thing in their neighborhood, try to make it like an old-time Halloween. It got to no fun because it started to be one-upping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, if you've seen some of my posts on Facebook, there's a house down by Holmes Road. They do the haunted house every year.
Yeah.
They do a haunted house, though. I mean, if you do it tastefully and you enjoy it, I suppose.
There's a house on Charlotte or on Paul Road. Every time I go home and go to work, they must have 30 standing creepy things in the yard, like skeletons and
they've got thousands of dollars.
Grim Reapers. But all I can ever think of is, I look at the house. It's not a huge house. Where the hell do they put all this stuff?
Where do you put it away?
And I do know too, like some people don't like. It's gonna sound wrong no matter how I say it. They don't like the blow up ones.
I don't like them.
What do you have against blow up dolls?
But they don't like. They just think there's something just fake and like about them. And if you really like put pumpkins and do your own designs and everything.
Oh, some people are really talented.
I like the big 12-foot skeletons myself. Those are great.
Well, so the blow-up doll or blow-up pumpkins, whatever you're talking about, compared to like the 12 and 14-foot caricatures that move around and animatronic, basically. If somebody says that it doesn't look real enough, like none of it is real.
I know. What is wrong with you?
So is it doesn't look like it's actually going to eat you?
Yeah, right. I know.
Nastiest trick one of my friends played years ago is he put like devil horns on his dog and he like a black lab. It was harmless. So what he did was he kept his lights low and he hit it on the lead. It would come out when they trick-or-treaters would come and freak them out.
That's great.
I used to put devil horns on my dog and be like, it's a devil dog with the glowing horns. But a really good prank still. This is harmless, but I loved it. There's this one house, they had all decorated flashlights when I was a kid. They were a bunch of like stoner hippie types, right? So he comes out, dude, I got something special for you. I'm like, hey, we got Tommy Chong here. He takes a Snickers bar instead of a balloon. He puts it in the bag. Was he like doing a deal? Put the thing on? But no, here's the trick about it. You forget about it. Okay, you're like, okay, these guys are weird, whatever. Snickers bar. Halfway down the street, you forget it's in there. The candy goes in and breaks the balloon, and you jump.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's interesting.
That's devious.
Yep.
And it's
I love it.
too.
I do like it.
I like it.
We do not, the carnival, in terms of lawsuits, wherever, our team, we do not endorse.
I remember one year I was living in this place, and it had a mail slot in the front door, right? And so when the trick-or-treaters came, I got the bright idea. I just stood there. I heard them come up, or the voices or whatever, and I would get crouched down, and I would just jam my hand to the thing and start going like to sing or something. And I heard the kids, ah! So I thought that was pretty funny.
So we're getting, unfortunately, we seem like time just blows by.
Flies with you, dude.
You guys have to come back, obviously, and we're doing our stand-up. But because we're going to segue into what we're doing at the end, what are your thoughts on, what would you think of for some bands that really speak to Halloween for you or Halloween music?
What
like bands you would associate with?
This is Alice Cooper's bread and butter, man.
Alice Cooper, for sure, right at the top of the list.
He's great in concert, by the way.
He is.
Now, I have to say, unfortunately, I got him on a bad day because I thought Hailstorm was better when I saw him the one time. And I love Alice Cooper, but I just think something.
I'm gonna have to Google his name. Was it Richard? Was it Dawkins? Little John Hawkins? Who did I Put a Spell on You?
Screamin' Jay.
Screamin' Jay
Hawkins.
The
Put a Spell on You. Oh, what a great video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that's happening. Is this like in the early 1960s? Maybe 1950s. He is scaring the
hell out of
America.
One of his singers. Yeah. Susie had her little voodoo skull thing.
Crazy World of Arthur Brown. He was another crazy guy.
You know what I saw Rob Zombie at Water Street of all places. And what he did, Rob Zombie was touring with Ozzy. He would stop in the smaller venues between shows to play. So what's he do? He wears a Santa hat because it's like December.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But some of those, there's the the first time I ever saw Kiss was on the Paul Lynde Holiday Special. That was the first place I ever saw Kiss.
I got to look up the artist on Google here. But Swamp Witch. That's my favorite.
It's Jim Stafford.
Jim Stafford, that's right. So Swamp Witch is definitely my favorite Halloween-style song. I don't know anything about it, the rest of his music, because that's the only thing I know that I've heard from him.
Halloween-style songs is a different category.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I actually have one of my friend Jenny Dragg. She's the lead singer for the Priscillas, is a British band. Never play here, but she's got a really fun one because all my friends are zombies. We got we just had Count Mike popped out of the tune to do 2 hours of Halloween songs, a whole lot of shaking. And the Baron sounded like somebody turned him into Count Floyd after he drank his coffee during the show yesterday.
We added 3 songs to the set list last night for the Halloween party. Werewolves of London.
Great tune.
Evil Ways, Santana, and
Great tune.
Superstition.
Yeah.
Great tunes.
There's so many.
Those are solid.
They're awesome. But because we're mentioning that, and what's coming up now, the Thigh Masters are coming up on November 8th. And actually, they did.
Yeah,
right?
I'm glad you could be able to make it, man.
Yeah.
Actually, November 8th at Johnny's Irish Pub. Friday, November 1 is over at the Hilton Garden Inn in Bushnell's Basin. That's a happy hour gig. That one starts at 6:30. Johnny's Irish Pub, I want to presume is 8.
I'll be there.
8 to 11.
I know they usually, everybody I've seen there start at 8-ish.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they'll have a band out by the bar that ends up at
Are you playing in the back room or are you playing in the
back room?
In the back
room.
room.
Yeah,
cool. Dude, I saw Simon's work with Cupid's Boomerang. Great stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
Great.
He's done a great job. He's a great guy. Thanks. Well, thank you.
How much of that is all of it is original music?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I got to come out to see it. He also went to record something at the Bug Jar for them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Abilene one was the first gig, but I just wanted him to do it. I figured, well, let's get the first gig on record, and then we can contrast it later.
Yeah.
Boy, we were sure stupid then.
Some nice YouTube clips.
I have a picture from the Bug Jar.
Yeah.
Of Dan.
Yeah, we were at that
He
gig.
looks like a freaking rock star.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. I'm sweating. I'm like, I'm making guitar face.
Bug Jar was a good place because they have a lot of good lights and the way the stage looks. It was a good place.
So how did you like being a seasoned musician playing a set at the Bug Jar with the much younger set, right?
The 9 and the 10-year-olds.
You had to be like one of maybe 3 bands that night, 4 bands.
Yeah,
right?
no, 3 I think.
And the other bands were how old? How old were the people?
I don't know. 20s probably.
They were 20s, right? Yeah.
But I mean, they were good. I mean, I just thought, I don't know. I listened to them. I didn't really hear too much style. It just seemed like they were just playing whatever they felt like playing.
Simon sent me some stuff of one of the bands that night that he happened to just continue to record. I forget what their name was. Interesting stuff. But I remember playing at the Bug Jar the night you were there. One of the other bands was a band called Hot Mayonnaise.
I was there because I knew Kevin Wilcox.
Do you know
my
Hot
friend
Mayonnaise?
Kevin Wilcox?
Okay. Yeah.
I know the band Hot
They smell
Mayonnaise.
bad, but they're cool dudes.
We're going to go back there.
Kevin's one of those guys, when I met him, I'm going, this guy's got to be either like the biggest twit, a jerk, or he's got to be the nicest guy because the way he acted. He's a great guy.
They were selling their music on cassettes. I bought one. I still have it.
I said, Kevin, I'm going like, is one of the UV Rays playing? I'm like, dude, what are you playing? People want some CDs. What are you charging for them? And I think, buy me a shot. I'm like, I got to see you play up there first. Check out this band, Suburban Resistance. He's in Vegas out. He's like,
Cupid's is going back in December. We're going to play with JPP. So. With John Payton,
Noah Barnard is the son of one of my college friends in that band. I'm looking forward to seeing them, too.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it'll be a fun show.
We listen to music.
Yeah. Were you going to play with JPP?
At the Bug Jar. Yeah.
That just sounded weird, though, the way you said it. It was like I was thinking J.D. McPherson in my head. John's been on here. He's a great guy. But I was at that gig, too. You didn't know me yet. I was going to see Hot Mayonnaise.
Yeah.
And everything. But a lot of stuff coming up, and I hope you have a happy Halloween, whatever you do. And we have a big treat. We're not even going to tell you. We have our 2 virtuosos are going to be playing something. Maybe a third will do something. Who knows?
We get Andy jamming in, and we got a good idea how to get some organ solo.
Very cool. Texas is always very fun. A lot of laughs.
Yeah.
And
thanks for having me on.
Are you ever gonna not hit? You're like willy nilly. Put that on him on the road again.
John's all over the place, man. You still in Albany, John, or are you back from that gig?
Done in Albany as of I think it was the 15th of this month. Somewhere around there. So the snack shop is closed. The 14th was my last day on the lease, and I'm done in Albany, and so I'm no longer working 7 days a week, and
no job.
Got no income right now, so I got to solve that problem.
You getting back to the radio?
That is. that there's no income in the radio, at least the way I was doing it. Probably going to create a podcast in the next short little while. It'll be business subjects, not quite as fun as this, but.
Well, you've got the experience now.
Yeah.
But cool, but I think everybody wanted to hear that update. That's a good way to end it. You're freaking me out now without the shades on.
There's that orange wig
Thanks a lot.
back
Happy
on.
Halloween. Listen to this song. It'll be good.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
When I look out the window, so many sights to see. When I look in the window, oh, so many different people to be. You gotta pick up every stick. You gotta pick up every stick now. You gotta pick up every stick. Must be the season of the witch. Be the season of the witch. Must be the season. When I look over my shoulder, what do you think I see? Someone looking at me over the shoulders, blaming me. Lord, you got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch now, Lord. You got to pick up every stitch now.